Well, greetings. Welcome to the Dividing Line. This will be, should be, if everything works out well, the last program in the regular studio for a few weeks. It's about a 3-week trip I'm going on. Heading out a little bit faster than I normally do. In other words, see, I do all my own reservations and stuff. I sort of have to. I mean, I guess I could ask somebody to do all that stuff for me, but then I'd have to be constantly contacting them and stuff like that. And I'm the one out there on the road. So, if I pull in a place and I have a reservation, it's because I messed up, so that has happened. But thankfully that always had a spot. But anyway, I head out on Tuesday, and this is a pretty quick trip. I'm going to be heading over to Arkansas and going to be speaking at a couple different places, primarily in the Conway area originally. Going to be with Quattro Nelson at his church the first weekend, and then at the seminary on Monday and Tuesday evenings. And I'm not sure which one of those two is the public one. I'd have to look. You can contact the seminary to find out, because I think the other one I'm just in one of the regular classes, and the either Monday or Tuesday night I'll be doing a presentation in the lecture hall there on the Seventh Ecumenical Council, but I'm going to have to run through all of them. Just, most people know so little about ecumenical councils and stuff like that, and with the current, the flavor du jour for converts right now is Eastern Orthodoxy. And so the Seventh Ecumenical Council is absolutely vital there. There are few things more definitional of Eastern Orthodoxy than the issue of icons. Iconodulia, iconography, the iconoclastic controversy, and everything that took place at the Nicaea II, the Seventh Ecumenical Council. So we're going to do a little something that evening, hopefully prepare folks along those lines. And then we head for Jonesboro, and we have the two debates on Friday and Saturday nights at 12:05 in Jonesboro. And then I still think I'm preaching on Sunday. I haven't really talked too much about that. And then I head back. So I've got to get out there pretty quick. So I have to, I can lengthen my days as far as how long I want to drive each day. I have a great program. If anyone is doing this stuff, if anyone has any interest, if you're an RVer, RV Life Trip Wizard. I'm sure someone's going to complain about the use of the term wizard. But RV Life Trip Wizard is just the best thing I've found. I had started with a different one, but then I stumbled on this, and it is the best way to... it does a great job. You tell it how long your RV is, how tall it is. It makes sure you're not running into bridges along the way, stuff like that. Important little things like that. And you tell about how much your gas mileage is. And it's got a cool thing with the elevation. I just opened up the elevation for this this trip. And it gets up there. First day, up through Flagstaff. That's climb, no two ways about it. And then over into New Mexico, across the I-40. And then day 6, it's like sea level. Just woo! So I'll get really good gas mileage on days 3, 4, and 5 when you're going downhill. And the other thing is I'm going east, so I almost always have a tailwind going downhill. So the first few days, I'm always like, wow, we're doing really good on the gas mileage. Then coming back, you're going back uphill against the wind, and the gas mileage really. So if you'd like to help with gas mileage, yesterday as we were signing off, right as we were signing off, Rich sends me this hurried text message, travel fund. And I had already said, see you next time on the dividing line. And we had problems, well, Rich had problems with the music yesterday. I hit start and play, and I heard him playing the theme song remotely. Didn't you? I did hear you. Oh, yes. I heard it earlier. Earlier I heard the song. I heard the music playing, and then he says, well, you're going to have to play it. And so I played it, and then the program starts, and I hit play. Nothing happens, So, look, we're getting older, and so you just have to get used to, things just being the way they are. That's why all the little boys and girls are saying, you need to retire. You stay out of there and let us take care of everything. Like, okay. Anyway, no, it's on the counter. Okay. Just making sure the wife picked up had to buy a new toaster. And the one I bought was like 6 months old. And then you'd put it down, and then boom, it would pop right back up. And you put it down, boom, pop right back up. You turn it up more, it would last a little, then pop back out. I was like, toasters are not the most advanced pieces of equipment in the kitchen, if you've ever noticed. This one actually has an LED countdown as to how much longer you have before your toast is supposed to pop up. So that's just another thing that can break even faster. That's all there is to it. Anyways, so we do have a travel fund, and if you would like to, if you've been noticing, diesel fuel and regular gas both are not going down very fast. We may be drilling, but drilling takes time. So the travel fund at aomn.org helps us to keep the RV going. And as I mentioned, I think on the program, the last visit to our repair facility was cha-ching, but necessary. Slide outs, for example, they have to work. Right. And we haven't even put the slide out yet. We will find out on Saturday. I'm assuming Rich is going to be there. We're both going to sort of be like, okay, here we go.
You touch it. I'm not going to touch it.
You touch it, you break it. Yes. It's like, okay, here we go. I hope it works. So, yeah, I'm a little nervous about it, but it's a good place. They do good work, and so let's just hope everything works, because we don't have time to be running it back before Tuesday. That ain't gonna happen. So we'll see. Anyway, so that's all to say. Road Trip Dividing Lines coming up, and Road Trip Dividing Lines. What do you need? You need the A&O app. You need the app to tell you when the program's going to be, or if it's going to be at all. Because honestly, I can pull into a park. I can get stuck in a only space they have left. The park internet is worthless. There's no meaningful cell sites nearby, and if I try to put the Starlink out, I'm under a canopy of trees and can't find. So okay, we'll have to do it next time. It's just how it works. There's no way around it. So anyway, so with all of that, one thing that I completely forgot. Let me. Carla is okay. If I've joined but I'm not verified, am I actually joined? Do you have any idea what Carla Rolfe is asking about? Because I told her the dividing line is live right now. Join us, and she says, if I've joined but I'm not verified, am I actually joined? So I'm not really. I rarely know what Carla's actually saying. I rarely knew back when she was younger exactly what she was talking about, and now that she's up in our neck of the woods age-wise, it could just be things are falling apart for her. So
my thinking there is that if she's not verified on X,
yes,
okay, she can't participate in the chat on X because that's verified people only.
Oh.
That's the question. She can still view the show and hear the show, but she can't.
And you can't grant her great privileges.
There are no dispensations.
No dispensations.
Yes.
No dispensationalism for Carla.
But
well, she is an American living in Canada, so that makes it even worse. But yeah.
Oh, and somebody just said that the blue check apparently takes 3 to 4 days to process too. So,
okay.
You know,
Okay.
Elon's distracted these days. He's a little slowing down
on X.
A little busy
doing other things. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Discovering the entire administrative state has been sucking us dry, and sending our money to George Soros and Hamas and all. The level of corruption beyond.
I think the bigger pot has been where they work it halfway around the world, and then suddenly it comes right back into their own pockets.
Yeah. How many of these folks end up leaving Congress as multimillionaires? Yes. How do they do that? They don't make that much money.
I remember the first time that I learned the word graft.
Yes.
Was when I was a teenager, and you need to not be drinking when I say this. I learned the word graft from Mad Magazine.
Had English developed that far?
Yes. From Mad
You're so much older than I am, so I can say that.
I did not know what the word graft meant, and Mad Magazine taught me what the...
Well, good. I'm glad they eventually got Mad Magazine up to Prescott. That was...
Hey, what else was there to do?
Not much. That's awful sure. You could drive down the hill to Phoenix once in a while, but... Anyhow, so I had this on the list for yesterday, but I didn't get to it because we did all sorts of other things. But, all right. Crossway came out with the ESV many years ago. And Lockman probably could have killed the ESV if they had known how to market the NASB, because they had a big jump. They were way ahead. But they didn't, and ESV had some incredible people in charge of their marketing. I mean, they were on Bible college campuses handing out free copies, and they built that brand so fast. It was truly one of the success stories of the biblical translation realm, I guess you might say. And so it's established itself, and it eclipsed the NASB as far as sales and stuff like that. But what people don't understand is that in the modern period, Bible translation committees don't just disband and go home after the first edition comes out. You could understand logically why the committee would stay in existence, because once your translation starts getting used, then it starts getting reviewed and you start getting pushback. There's always going to be controversial texts. And if you've rendered something in a controversial fashion, someone might point something out and you might go, yeah, you know what? That's actually a valid criticism. What do we do now? What kind of editing would be possible? And, so 3-4 years down the road, you put out a new edition and you make some changes. Not massive wholesale changes. But, look at the NASB. My first NASB was in 1977. And then, so it was 18 years later, 1995, that the 95 revision came out, and then there was a 2020. So, about quarter century or so, there might be major revisions of a particular translation. And you might go, well, why would they do that? Well, because unlike what most people think, for example, about the King James translators, Bible translation committees do not claim to be inspired, and they do not claim to have produced the best translation that's ever been produced by mankind, and it'll never be eclipsed, and we made no mistakes, and we cannot be convinced that there's a better way to render this text or that text. So it's one thing to, like every 25 years, have somewhat of a update of things. It's another thing to do it every 5 years or so. That seems like a little bit of a short period of time to collect all that type of stuff together. So I forget what year it was, but the ESV had put out a announcement that the current form of the ESV, a couple of years ago, that was going to be it. The translation committee was disbanding, wasn't going to get back together again, and that's it. And there was such a hue and cry of people going, "Well, what do you mean?" And there was a fair amount of pushback. Oh, so this is it. This is the best that can be done. That they backtracked and they said, "Oh, well, actually, hold on. Okay, no, we're not going to do that." And so last week, at some point, they put out 18 pages, and these are not densely filled pages. So a very relatively small number of changes. And this is from the 2016 to the 2025. So 9-year gap here. And the vast majority of them are really, really, really minor. I mean, you do not have to go running out and buy a brand new ESV because, I want to be up to date. Let me give you an example. Okay, Malachi 1:12. But you profane it when you say that the Lord's table is polluted, and its fruit, that is, its food, may be despised. There is a comma now after the word food. So someone had sort of missed an Oxford comma or something. And its fruit, that is, its food, comma, may be despised. That comma wasn't there. Now, how many of you would have caught that? A couple of you. Retired English teachers, something like that, might have thrown a fit about that. But really? Okay. And a lot of the other ones are addition of translational footnotes. So, and the angel, Zechariah 6:5, and the angel answered and said to me, "These are going out to the four winds of heaven after presenting themselves before the Lord of all the earth." And in the 2025, there is a textual note inserted after the four winds of heaven. And the textual note is, or these are the four winds of heaven going out. Okay? Not exactly big stuff, okay? But they're being honest that, these are notes. You get into the New Testament, and again, Matthew 10:29. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. Well, there is a text note attached to the word penny, which I really feel badly for the ESV, because there are no pennies anymore. Some of you may not be aware of this. Some of you may have been so overwhelmed with the speed at which the Trump administration hit the ground, absolutely running and raising everything in front of it. But they're getting rid of the penny. I didn't realize that it costs like 3 cents to make a penny, which is stupid. It really is. So get all your pennies out and either get rid of them quick or just melt them down and use them for a statue or something. Why not? I mean, yes. Well, I know you want to comment on
what
this.
Are we going to do now with the saying, "A penny for your thoughts"?
It really, honestly, if it's not $10 for your thoughts, it wasn't a thought worth having. When you think about it, because I went through KFC today. There's a KFC on the way out to the storage place where we have the rig, and I don't know. I stop there once in a while if I'm going out and I need to grab lunches before I'm going to do something. And I say this to all these young kids at the drive-through window. I'm handing them my card, and it's like $13, and I go, I'm old enough to remember when this was $3. And you can tell I ain't the only one saying that to them. I'm going through the drive-through at all. So yeah.
And you know what they're all thinking? Okay, boomer.
Oh yeah. Yep, they probably are. There's no two ways about it. So anyway, the text note for penny used to say Greek Asarion Roman copper coin, Latin quadrans, worth about 1/16 of a denarius, which was a day's wage for a laborer. And now it says Greek Asarian Roman copper coin, worth about 1/16 of a denarius, which was a day's wage for a laborer. So they took the Latin out. Well, I'm never going to use the ESV again now that there's not the Latin in a single footnote, you know. I'm not sure why they did that, but they did. So almost all of these, as I'm looking at it here, are about text notes. You know, we've changed this text note. We added this text note. Well, this is interesting. In Matthew 18:22, Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. And now they've inserted a text note, or 70 times 7. Now that's important, because that's the difference between forgiving somebody 490 times or only 77 times. And believe you me, having worked with Rich all these years, there's a bunch of stuff. We're right between 77 and 490. And so what am I going to do? Now, thanks to the ESV text note. I mean, wow. That's that's huge. Yes. So there's a lot of that stuff. That again, yes, sir. You've got your hand on the button. No. Okay.
So,
all right.
So from this side of the fence, it's well beyond.
Oh, already past the 490, huh? Okay, I see. Yeah. Okay. But then here's another massive change. This is a text change. So here's, and you see, I had already had this on the list to do, but who was it that started this? Yeah. So Dr. Riddle from IRBS, our friendly neighborhood TR only guy, he and I had gone back and forth just a couple times yesterday or the day for yesterday on John 1:18 and monogenes theos versus monogenes huios, and after about one or two, it was just like, you know what? There's no reason to do this. There's no reason to continue this, because you start with the TR. You are a TR presuppositionalist. And it doesn't, he was saying, well, what did Athanasius say? It doesn't matter what Athanasius said. Not to Jeffrey Riddle. That's what's just so disingenuous about the TR only position. Just come out and straight up say, we assign the TR final authority. We don't care about manuscripts. We don't care about history. We don't care about early church fathers. We don't care about anything. We don't care about how the TR came into existence. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what manuscripts Erasmus used. All that stuff is a distraction. It's irrelevant. The TR is the final authority. That's it. That's all we've got to offer you. We're not going to argue with you about it. We just say that's it. That's it. Because that's really what it is. It may take you 2 or 3 hours arguing with somebody before you finally figure this out. But it would, he's asking me, what did Athanasius read? And I'm like, It doesn't matter. I can show you early church fathers that say, God, you don't care. And if Athanasius had said God, you wouldn't care. Because it's not what's in the TR. So it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. So I don't know if that's how I ended up, the algorithm saw us talking and so it threw it. I don't know. But he put together a whole bunch of ESV memes. So it's got a picture of Fauci, and it says, trust the science. It's time for your 9th ESV booster. Okay? Well, why didn't it, yeah. Then it's got a picture of an Ent from the Lord of the Rings movies. ESV being ditched for NKJV en masse. The filth of Crossway is washing away. Then Crossway CEO, oh no, now every ESV owner is going to have to buy the 2025 update. And it's Woody Harrelson wiping his eyes with money. And then new from Crossway, premium pencil edition ESV Bible featuring erasable text so you can change it every few years. So just a bunch of this kind of stuff. A picture of Bernie Sanders, Crossway with dollar signs, Crossway ESV 2025. I am once again asking for your financial support. This kind of thing. So it's all ha 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 ha. Of course it's stupid, but it's all ha 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 stuff, And there was even a guy who responded to it and said, this is why I've gone exclusively to the KJV. I'm not adverse to other people using other versions, but all these changes don't sit right with me. And I responded, and has so far gotten no response from him, at least that I've seen. It's possible there's something that isn't pulled up. But so I asked him, I said, which KJV? 1611? 1769 Blaney? Oxford? Cambridge? Because there's a history here. And a lot of people, don't understand the history. And so here's a textual change in the ESV. Matthew 15:28. Then Jesus answered her. Now, I'm going to, Rich answers the phones around here. And in fact, before the program started, he was talking to somebody about slavery and stuff like that. And, so that's why he has to listen to the program, is so he can then talk to people on the phone and give them all the stuff that he's learned over the years listening. Have we counted the dividing lines recently? We really need to count the dividing lines recently. No, a lot is not enough. That Doge is going to ask us exactly how many. They want an actual number. We can't do what the Democrats do and go a lot. So no, we really need to look at the numbers and probably on Sermon Audio maybe be the one to pull that up on and see how many, because we were in the middle 2000s a while back. So I'm wondering if we're getting close to the 3K number, because we need to have a party or have a cake, have some maple frosted donuts, which I really, really like, especially when traveling. So anyway, since you have this high level of training for all these years, I'm going to read you the 2016 and the 2025. Okay, and I want you to comment on the difference. So you ready? Oh, Rich said he's got to go do something. Got to go floss the cat or something like that. Okay, so here's the 2016 version. Then Jesus answered her, O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. 2025. Then Jesus answered her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you desire. And her daughter was healed instantly. So the only difference between the two is be it done versus let it be done. That's it. That's the change. And
let it be said.
Let it be done.
Let it be done.
Let it be done. There you go. So that's the 25. That's the 2025 version. So we'll call that the George Bonneau change in Matthew 21:30, and he went to the other son and said the same, and he answered, I go, sir, but did not go. 20:25, and he went to the other son and said the same, and he answered, I will, sir, but did not go. All right. There's at least a little bit of meaning there. I go, sir, versus I will, sir. And it does make me, because I'm sitting here going, all right, I know a little something about these things. And, you know, over the past 9 years, what's been going on is people will write letters to Crossway, and articles will appear that are sent to Crossway, and eventually the translation committee gets together and works through all this stuff, and the stuff that seems to have some credibility gets put on the agenda. And so everybody sits around, and the Old Testament guys do their stuff, and the New Testament guys do their stuff, and basically, hey, stop sending me notifications on my phone. 2,694 sermons on my watch, not my phone. 2,694 sermons on sermon audio. Well, we might get to 3,000, 2,694, huh? Well, okay, all right. I thought we were a little higher than that, but we're not. No, sermons, that would include just the dividing line? Or is that sermons I've preached at other churches? That's just the dividing line. Yeah, I think if you put in the sermons, debates...
there are a few things in there that are beyond the dividing line, yeah. Especially the early stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's some seminars in there, so yeah, but...
Pretty much.
I'll see if I can't find it, get it to sort.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be really interesting. Yeah, okay. So, anyway, back to the changes here. Entire books go by without any changes at all. And then we come to the one that probably triggered all the stuff with Riddle. And, oh, wow. John 7:53. Okay, you want big changes. They moved the double brackets that mark 7:53 through 8:11. They moved it from after the verse number to before the verse number. That's it. So much for the ESV. Yeah, okay. So, this is a big one. Okay, they must have been sitting around. Go back to the translation committee here. And there have been lots of papers written recently. There's a whole movement of people who are really big into the defense of the phrase monogenes huios, the only begotten Son. And so John 1:18 is a textual variant that we've discussed many times on the program over the years. There's not just two variant readings at John 1:18, because you can have ha monogenes theos, you can have monogenes theos, ha monogenes huios, and then you inevitably get your later manuscripts that try to fix what they think's an error, and they end up with a unique reading or things like that. And it's not my intention to go back over that material right now, but only to note that really the most substantive stuff, at least as far as New Testament theology is concerned, is right here in the quote-unquote changes. So John 1:18 in the 2016 ESV says, "No one has ever seen God, the only God," footnote 1, "who is at the Father's side," footnote 2, "he has made him known." Footnote 1 reads, or the only one who is God. Some manuscripts, the only Son. And then number 2, Greek, in the bosom of the fathers, who is at the Father's side is in the bosom of the Father, which is literally what it reads. That's true. Now, the 2025. No one has ever seen God. God, the only Son, who, footnote 1, is at the Father's side, footnote 2, he has made him known. So the change is the only God to God the only Son. The new footnote 1 says, seen God, the only God who. Some manuscripts, seen God, the only Son, who, see verse 14. And then footnote 2, Greek, in the bosom of the Father, stays the same. Now, I can't even make heads or tails out of that footnote. Okay. The original footnote was significantly clearer. Now, the ESV is translating the Nestle-Aland 28th edition right here. And so they're translating the phrase monogenes theos, because they're using the term God, as God the only Son. So before they had the only God, so the monogenes is being rendered as only. So my gut feeling is that the stuff that came out, see, the 26, if the ESV came out in 2016, the whole ESS stuff blew up that summer. And there were a number of papers and things written over the next couple of years, especially on the meaning of monogenes. And so probably one of the some of the more strident criticisms of the ESV was, if you have the only God, you are limiting the meaning of monogenes in a particular fashion. That's probably what the criticism was. And so they chose God the only Son to try to, while maintaining fidelity to the reading theos, which is the reading of the earliest, all of the earliest manuscripts read theos. So P66, P75, Sinaiticus, and Vaticanus. Now, Alexandrinus reads Son. It's Proto-Byzantine in the Gospels. And you can, again, without going into depth on this, when you look at the citations of early church fathers, the question becomes, how early, what's the earliest manuscripts we have of those early church fathers? Are they being, what if we have and this happens a couple times, what if we have a book by an early church writer, and the only way we know of a particular text where this verse is cited is that book is cited by somebody else, but we don't have the original book anymore? So let's say, just use Tertullian as an early writer. Tertullian wrote something, but somebody else then quotes Tertullian. What Tertullian originally wrote is gone. That hasn't survived. That happens a lot in history, of course. But somebody else cites him as having said that. Okay, so it's now secondhand. And what's the earliest manuscripts we have of the secondhand? How far away from the original are you going here? That's why a manuscript itself, a physical, it exists in time manuscript, has more value to the text. The others should be noted. The others can create a collective case. But, I can look at this and I can look at these notes at the bottom of the page. And yes, I know when I'm looking at these notes, I just happen to open up here and I see 1739, 1881. Minuscule texts that are cited over and over and over again because both of them clearly were copies of much, much, much earlier texts. They're around 9th, 10th, 11th centuries, around there. And you can look at all that. You have that kind of data, but if I'm seeing, and this is an S. Allen text, if I had the UBS over here that has many more citations of early church fathers, what you don't have, and what very few people have, is access to the earliest, what are the earliest manuscripts we have of these works? We spent a lot of time trying to determine the dating of actual New Testament manuscripts. But when it comes to the patristic sources, a whole lot less information available. A whole lot less information available at that particular point in time. So, the ESV Translation Committee is staying with this. They're staying with the reading monogenes theos or ha monogenes theos. I'm not sure that. Yeah, the article could enter into that particular debate between the two renderings. Yeah, it could. But they're staying with theos, but they're trying to possibly respond to the monogenes movement that has taken place since 2016, and hence now have God the only Son. But the text note, or seeing God, the only God who, I assume what they're saying is, or we could understand this as seeing God, the only God who is at the Father's side, I think. And then it has a semicolon, some manuscripts seeing God, the only Son who. But see, that doesn't really explain anything either, because that could just be monogenes. They're translating monogenes as the only Son, but the other reading, the other manuscripts is monogenes huios. So Son is there. So I'm not sure what's in the verse 14 footnote that they're referring to, but I can't see how this text note is going to be overly helpful or overly explanatory of anything, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's one of the changes, and it's important. And again, I'm just looking through here. 1 Corinthians 9:12, they changed where they break the paragraph. Hopefully everybody already knew that sentence breaks, paragraph breaks are all editorial. They aren't in the original anywhere. So I appreciate being told, but still, we have a footnote insertion of Greek, the first fruits, in 1 Corinthians 16:15. The household of Stephanos were the first converts in Achaia, and they've added a text note next to convert, says Greek, the first fruits. Okay, 2 Corinthians 4:10, may also has been changed to also may. Again, a lot of this stuff just doesn't have much of an impact. This is interesting. Verse 10 of Ephesians 1, as a plan for the fullness of time to unite all things in him, things in heaven and things on earth. Now 2025, as a plan for the fullness of time to unite all things in Christ, things in heaven and things on earth in him. Okay. Some of that just may be due to the fact that auto is used, is used of Christ in 1 Corinthians and in Ephesians 1. And every translation committee is one of the things they talk about is when the Greek sentence goes on and on and on and on, like Ephesians 1 is. How far down the road will we go, assuming that the reader is going to keep the proper nouns in view and not get confused? So the NIV had a very short distance. That's why in John chapter 12, verse 41, these things he spoke about him because he had seen his glory. They put the word Jesus there. They take out the pronoun and actually put the proper noun Jesus in the NIV. Why? Because there had been too many verses since Jesus' name had been used that their decision was repeat the proper noun because we can't assume that someone's going to follow the pronouns that far down the road. Or when there's a possibility, because of a citation or something like that there would be a confusion. And as I've said, that sort of ruins the use of the NIV when talking to Jehovah's Witnesses about John 12:41 and the identification of Jesus as Yahweh. So you have to keep that kind of thing in mind. Maybe that's what was going on here. I don't know. Was there something you were going to?
Oh, I did a resort on it just for the dividing line only. We came up with 2,266 shows.
And that's going the wrong direction.
So I'll tell you what we could do. We could, all these guys that want us to retire.
Yeah.
So we can make a commitment here right now that once we hit 5,000 dividing lines, we can call it quits.
Okay.
So I think that we could probably agree to that.
Yeah,
5,
I think so. Yeah. Because at the current rate, that would be in our 90s.
No, 30 years.
Yeah, in our 90s.
Late 90s. Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yep.
As you're going through this, there was a Bible that I carried when you first met me.
Don't remind me of that. It still scares me.
I bet you. Do you remember the? I'd love to throw.
In fact, is that your members only jacket in the other room over there? that maroon?
Yeah, I would have had the members only jacket and carrying this big beast of a Bible around. Do you remember the open expanded?
Yes.
Bible?
Yes.
Wouldn't that throw a monkey wrench in these guys' spokes?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Every verb you can think of to throw into the translation to possibly, absolutely make sure that you can't possibly leave anything that you can possibly think of out of the sentence.
Yeah, I remember the Open Bible. That was pretty early on.
There was the Open Bible, and then there was the Open Expanded. And it had to translate thoroughly.
Well, it was like trying to read the Amplified Bible. Remember the
No, that's what I'm thinking of, the Amplified.
Okay.
The verbiage.
I know. The Amplified Bible was a Lockman product too. Yeah, that was same people did the NASB. And it was could be called the Interminable Bible. Because it just, yes. So you had the Amplified?
I had both the Open Expanded, which had a big old honking thing in the middle for the 400 years of silence. Okay. It wasn't the other stuff, but it was all the time between the testaments.
Where did you get this stuff?
What's that?
Where did you get this stuff?
Well, where do you think I got it? It was either at Berrigan Christian Bookstore, where we used to hang out all the time, or the one down at 7th Avenue in Camelback. What was that called? Oh, man.
I know.
Yeah. And that's long-term memory. Oh, my word.
Uh-huh. That was a good bookstore, though.
That was a great bookstore.
It was.
It really was.
That's where I first, that's the bookstore I was standing in, and I opened up the Handbook on Denominations to find out what a Reformed Baptist was.
Oh, yeah.
Was that Christian Supply?
Well, there was Central Christian Supply. They were on, I think, Central Avenue. There was the one at I can't remember the name of the place.
You sure that's not the same one?
No, it was a different place.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, that's the one I was at. That's the one where I used them as a library and opened up the manual on the Handbook of Christian Denominations, and I had picked up a cassette tape at the Bible counter at Berean at 35th and Camelback from this guy named Don Fry at Phoenix Reformed Baptist Church. And I listened to it. I was like, wow, this is great. But what in the world is Reformed Baptist? And I was at that other, I think it was Central Christian Supply. And they had the Handbook on Denominations. And I said, hey, I wonder if they've got Reformed Baptist in here. And they did. So, yeah, we're going back in time here. So, just a couple other quote-unquote changes here. The last one listed is Revelation 13:8. And all who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written before the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. That's the 2016. Now, there's a lot of issues here. This is a tough text to translate. Now, it says, and all who dwell on earth will worship it, everyone whose name has not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slain. So it's before, now it says from. There's a whole lot more, actually, that is challenging in Revelation 13:8 than just that. But probably the one that got the most interest was in Genesis 3 and Genesis 4. We'll wrap up with these. Genesis 3:16, 2016 version. To the woman he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you. But there's a text note next to contrary to that says, shall be toward. See Genesis 4:7. And there's a change to Genesis 4:7 too. That's now been changed. I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Now, but or and does have significance at this text. And the New Text Note says, is next to the word for, it says to or toward or against. See 4:7. So we go to 4:7, which is the next change. If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is contrary to you, but you must rule over it. 2016. Next to contrary to it says, is toward. But now, 2025, if you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, and you must rule over it. With the footnote saying to, or toward, or against. See 3:16. So, evidently, again, the OT guys, the Hebrew guys, got together and read the various critiques, and maybe some new commentaries came out. I have not been keeping up with what has been going on in that particular area, but the OT committee as a whole decided that these would be appropriate changes. Now, again, you could probably put all these changes, if you didn't worry about text notes and stuff like that, on a single piece of paper, it is not worth your time whatsoever to go out and buy a new ESV. The memes of people rolling in money are silly. However, one of the reasons why it is worthwhile for us to discuss this on the program is due to the fact that if you're going to be preaching these texts, if you're going to be preaching Revelation and the Lamb slain before the foundation of the earth, if you're going to be preaching John 1:18, you need to know, your people are sitting there. Yeah, a lot of them have paper Bibles. A lot of them have this. And what do they have on this? And if their phone automatically updates to the 2025, and you may be preaching from the 2016, they're going to be lost. They're going to wonder what you're talking about unless you address the issue. And yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. It's real easy for people to sit there and see, this is why it was a lot better when we were all just sitting around with the King James version of the Bible. Okay. No, there are advantages to that. They're the same advantages the Muslims have that use the exact same Quran. They just don't happen to know that Quran was edited over time. There are textual variants. There are no notes. They don't know any of that stuff. So yeah, if you want to have the same kind of certainty that the Muslim has about the Quran or the Mormon has about the Book of Mormon, now some of the Mormons do know the Book of Mormon has been changed. But their response would be changed by the gift and power of God invested in the prophet. So that's how you take care of that. But yeah, people don't want to know anything about the history of their text. They don't like those text notes. For years, I've asked people while I'm giving my New Testament reliability presentation, how many of you will be honest enough to say, right here and right now, in front of your friends and family, that when you see those notes that say some manuscripts say this and some manuscripts say that, you could translate this, you could translate that it bothers you? And a lot of people will go, yeah, that bothers me. They want to have a cut and dried, sent down from heaven on golden tablets idea than the way that God gave us his word over time. They much, much prefer that. There's no question about it. But we have to know these things. We have to know what the background is, what the history is. There's a reason why these text notes exist. The King James had textual notes when it was first published. The vast majority of those, including alternate readings and alternate translations, aren't included anymore. It would really help if they were, but who would ignore them? So, given the popularity of the ESV, probably in our audience, I think it's worthwhile that you would look up crossway.org, look up the ESV, and maybe download that. Just take a look at it yourself. It's very minor stuff, and other translations have done very, very similar things, and no one really made a big stink about it. But it's good to know how these things work, and it's also good to know that this isn't just. We're not saying that some translation committee gets to sit around and determine this is what the Word of God says, and we've been given this authority and this power. No, they're doing the best they can, given the standards they themselves have set for themselves, the text they're translating and the textual methodology, to be consistent. And in the 9 years' time since 2016, there's been basically an argument that to be more consistent, this is the way you would want to render these particular texts. And so that's what they've done. No, you do not have to go and buy a new ESV. But be aware, you've got your favorite ESV, you've got all your marks in it. At least at these few places, when you pull it up on your phone, it's probably going to be the 2025. Or if you buy another one for somebody else, probably going to be a 2025, starting later in the year. I mean, there's obviously a stock of 2016 ESVs around that are still going to get sold. So that's all there is to that. Okay. All right. So once again, next week, when will we do the program? Oh, don't know. It's a long drive on Tuesday. If I get a real good early start, might we get a program in? Yeah, that's possible. I'll try. If I get, but I don't know what the weather's going to look like. There's just all sorts of variables. So get the app. That's the best way. And of course, follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I don't try to get followers. Someone pointed out this morning that we have 111,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I'm like, we never try to get subscribers on YouTube, especially YouTube. Because, got to talk about this for a second. Sorry. Got to talk about this for a second. Yesterday's program, YouTube decided that they had to put a notification on yesterday's program. And I'm like, okay, here is where'd it go? The note's gone. Maybe they did. How interesting. Because I certainly did comment on it on Twitter. What? Yeah, this is February 12th. Abolition, Rick Warren. It was the abolition discussion. Okay. All right. They took it back down. They took it off. Didn't I put something on Twitter about this? Yeah, I did. Yeah, here it is. Here's what it used to say. And now it's gone. They attached abortion health information. And you can't take this stuff off. There's nothing you can do about it. Google does this. Google owns YouTube. National Library of Medicine, an abortion is a procedure to end a pregnancy. It can be done two different ways. Medication abortion, which uses medicines to end the pregnancy. Not really medicines, it's hormones. It is sometimes called a medical abortion or abortion with pills. Procedural abortion, a procedure to remove the pregnancy from the uterus. You don't remove a pregnancy, you stupid morons. You move the body of the dead baby. It is sometimes called a surgical abortion. For information purposes only, consult your local medical authority for advice. Now, someone might say, that's just automatically done, by algorithm. You said the word abortion, and so therefore it's just automatically attached. Yeah, the lies are automatic. Remove a pregnancy? What idiocy is this? So I talked about the 23-year-old purple-haired interns at Google that attach such foolishness on Twitter, and I can do that on Twitter. I can't do that on lots of other places. So yeah, who knows what kind of attachments, but it's gone. It's not there anymore. So that's interesting. That's good, but it was there for a while. All right. Anyways, that was a couple extra minutes, but whole point being, next week, just get the app, follow along, and we'll do the best we can and just pray for traveling mercies. I remember when we first did this, the first time I drove up I-17 to Flagstaff, we were very, very worried. We didn't know if that first truck was going to pull that baby up those hills. There are some very, very steep hills, if you are not familiar with it, between here and Flagstaff. Flagstaff is 7,000 feet. We're at 1,200 feet. You climb, then go straight down into Camp Verde, which honestly is a of the whole trip. That's the part that makes me the most nervous. Honestly, it's not going uphill; it's going downhill. You've got something massive on your tail. But those are steep sections. My dad and I went deer hunting one year, and we went in my Chevy Love pickup truck, which had a hamster for an engine. It really did. And with just 2 guys in it, we weren't hauling anything. I had the flashers on at 25 miles per hour going up to Flagstaff. I remember it. It was so embarrassing. All the semis were blowing by us. Oh, it was that poor little thing. It was a cute little truck, but oh, it was bad. Anyway, that's coming up on Tuesday. Those climbs and stuff like that. Our big GMC diesel just laughs at the whole thing. But pray for safe travel. I'm the one driving, and hopefully we'll get to see you all. Hopefully we'll shoot for Tuesday, if not Wednesday. Again, all depending on weather and everything else. Pray for us. We'll see you all in Arkansas. God bless. See you later.